Yo, yo, yo!
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. It's the end of Saturday at the South Coast GT 2016, and it's Wayne and I, joined by superstar Russ the Face Veal from Facehammer. How you doing?
Good to be here, yeah, it's good.
Good. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed the coverage. I know that behind the camera we've got Matthew working really hard all day to make sure that you guys have got the best coverage of the event. It's always a difficult thing to cover a miniatures game from camera, but I think he's doing a great job, and hopefully you've enjoyed it. Your statistics say that you are, so that's good. Keep that going.
Are you happy?
Yeah. Oh yeah, there
you should
go.
just.
There you go. There you go. So there you go. So yeah, hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. Now we wanted to get Russ on and just talk about the day overall. As you can see behind us, there's basically there's still people playing at the moment. We've got the painting competitions done, and there's just people having a good time. And there's some people gone down to the pub to eat, and then some people come back. It's just a generally relaxed atmosphere, which I know some people may not associate with the tournament, or at least that's how they feel. So I want to talk a little bit about this with you guys. So there's a ton of new people here, at least 50% of the field that have either not done a tournament or aren't tournament regulars or just got back into AOS. One of the comments that's been made a lot for me is a few people weren't really sure if they'd enjoy the gaming. How has anybody come up to you talking about this particular issue?
I've had a lot of people come up to me and just say thank you for running the event. It's amazing. They're really happy to be here, and are really enjoying the actual scenarios and the comp pack. I'm just saying basically thank you for putting it on, because they're having a great time, and that's really great to hear, to be honest. And we always try and attract new players to our event, and I think with the change of the game system, this year's been probably the most new players we've ever had. So, and I think as well, I mean, probably back when we started tournaments, there was always that little bit of, what's it going to be like? Am I going to go? Is it going to be a bit not a bit edgy? Am I going to enjoy it? And but once you do it and you take the plunge and you realise actually this is pretty good. I think you're then hooked, aren't you? I mean, I certainly have been.
Yeah.
So.
And what about you, Wayne? You spoke to many new people this weekend?
Yeah, plenty. I think most people in the past look at the tournament scene as a competitive, a tournament scene. That's how they see it. And all the new people I spoke to don't really view it that way. They just want to come and play. They just see it as a get together more than a tournament, or like a hobby weekend. So. I think that's what's attracting more people. There's no stress involved. There's no they aren't put under any pressure to do well, to perform, if you like. They're just here to play games. I think that's the biggest difference between this game at the moment as it stands and previous tournaments.
So we had like a reset button, I guess, from the competitive scene where nobody's expected to do well. There's no names. There's some people who are obviously known for media and like us, I suppose, and some people that are known for their gaming through the media. And some people carried that on. I mean, Rush, you've beasted up some tournaments already, haven't you?
Yeah, I've done pretty well.
Done all right.
Complain,
Taken out a few.
Got a few trophies under AOS, so it's always good.
And then carried that on, and that's great. But generally, it's felt like a lot more relaxed today. But one of the things when I've been talking to people, and to be honest, these conversations happen in weird places, like the toilet or whatever, when we're talking to people about how the weekend's going on. And they've said that they just felt it wasn't what they expected in a good way in terms of on the table. So the whole event, they were pleased with, and just generally. But they were most surprised by the fact that how laid back the games were. And I would say to anybody who's sitting on the edge about coming to a tournament, that's been the truth for however many years. Yes, on the top tables at a big event like this in Game 5 and 6, I'm sure it will be a little less. It will be a little bit stifled in comparison to how you play with your mates down the club. But it really is not a scary thing, is it?
I think it depends, because I've spent quite a bit of time in that kind of environment, and to be honest, they're competitive games, but they're still friendly and relaxed.
Yeah,
you're still playing a competitive game with probably a cutting edge list, but your opponent's taking exactly the same. I mean, it's basically your balance, because you're both doing the same thing. Yeah. And you both enjoy it, and then you're both having a relaxed game, and that's great. It comes down to it's still a good fun game. And there's those moments, talking points, the bits after the game. I mean, one of the guys on the top tables today has been rocking his Mighty Lord of Corn and using his acts of realities to banish some big names like Nagash and the Glotkin. It's brilliant, and there's great stories. But
everybody was pleased to see that. So I don't know. We didn't get that on camera actually. It was just unfortunate timing. But so he bladed reality the Glotkin after doing Nagash in the next game, and there was a massive cheer, wasn't there?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I was actually recording at the time for the podcast, so I'll be putting that up on our show. But it was really good. There's a little crowd because it's coming at the end of the combat phase. He I think Tom went off to go to the toilet, and he was talking to people, and people kind of gathered round to see what the result was going to be, and you were kind of waiting for the combats to finish to get to that crucial dice roll. And there was a big cheer when the 5 come up, and and Tom took it in the right spirit, and Tom even won that game on the scenarios. But I think that's the great thing, is that no matter what's happening on the table, there's always something to play for. And I think for me, the biggest change between this edition and the last edition is that in the last edition there was this whole ethos around conserving your points, hide your models, or leave that one guy who's alive to run behind the building, and there was this avoidance. Don't want to use the model now because I don't want it dying, and that gives my opponent points. Whereas in this game, people are going, well, I don't need Nagash to score, so he's just going to run into their army.
Yeah.
And I think that's the great thing, because you giving them points doesn't affect you. It just gives them points, which is fine. And I think that's a really nice change. I'm really happy with that.
So we talked about this a lot, didn't we, on the show in past years about 8th, in that we felt that the minute you start giving certain things, or started taking line of sight back from non-true line of sight, that it encouraged avoidance and denial and everything else. And Age of Sigmar, you can't really hide. You might find a bit of a building to hide around for a bit, but you can. It's interesting. We've talked about it a lot, and I know you find this. It's harder to kill single models than it may seem. We all thought, I think, when the game started, that 5 wound character's going to die. It's not actually true in certain circumstances.
No, it's not. No, and I think because I think pre-measuring is really good as well, and it's a lot harder, I think, to get your head around the abstract nature of units can move 360, and you can move. You can obviously move and charge and pile in, and not necessarily. You can get into places that you couldn't see coming, and planning around that, and almost for me as well, visually, the old game one you had blocks, which I like the look of, but in a line, whereas AOS is almost like waves.
So
you have your sort of your vanguard, and then you'll have your main, and you'll have your sort of sweepers that come in and pick up, and you play your army in almost quite deep. A bit more like a traditional battle in a way, because you know that you're going to get, I'm going to get charged there, I want to absorb the charge, and I want to counter charge, and then they've got their counter charges, and I think it's still really tactical, and that's the thing. I know I enjoy it as a competitive game. It is very different, but I think it's a good thing. It's really refreshing, actually, for me.
Which will be a surprise to those of you that were posting the pictures of little play school kids playing Age of Sigmar and bashing models together and things. Because all jokes aside, we all find it a very thrilling and tactical game on that sense. There's a lot of, I was explaining it to Matthew behind the camera actually, because he's not seen it before, about the amount of small micro decisions you need to make on a lot of positioning and where the tactics really lie. And it's a hard thing to explain, but it's obviously a very taxing game for all of us.
I think that's the problem, because it's so abstract. It's not obvious looking at the rules where that lies until you play the game. And I think quite a lot of people dismissed it as a game without giving it a proper go and a proper crack with the whip. I'll say to those people, if you're at home and you've got an old army, just give it a go. All the rules are free. Maybe rebase it or don't, but just have a go at it, and try out. If you want to try out our comp pack, brilliant. It's there to be used. There's other events and other packs, and or just play it straight out the 4 pages. But I think give it a go before you say, actually, no, it's, I don't see it, because I think it takes about 4 or 5 games to really click with it. I think some people won't, because it's not. It depends on your mindset of the war games you like. But I think a lot of people really, really enjoying it, and almost surprised they are enjoying it so much.
And I would say, if you're listening to this, and I know Russ, that's so habit. Russ alluded to the fact that you could play it with 4 pages. I'd suggest you probably don't. I'd probably give it a go with our compact. So if you go to heelanhammer.com/scgt, you can see all the details. The main reason being is that I think we need a solid scenario to make it.
I think
to make it work. And if you're obsessed about like I was, born and bred into points, there is a point system on there that you can use to help you and your friend get roughly. And that is a big thing, roughly equal forces. So
we're not going to say that the points are perfect.
All balanced, but they're as good as it was our opinion when we wrote it. We sat there as much as we could, but with 700 to 900 raw scrolls to grade, it's
a few 12-hour days on Skype chatting through with a few people was interesting.
But everybody seems to be enjoying it. It's great. It's fantastic to see all the good comments and kind comments on Facebook as well with us going. So that's great. So let's talk about the tournament then and who's doing well. It's a good way to finish off, because it's always interesting on the game in front. So have you seen Table 1 tomorrow? We have your co-host of Facehammer, Terry Pike.
Playing Darren Palmer.
Yes.
So both running Chaos. So Terry is running a list that's basically, he wants to be Stormcast but not use Stormcast.
Yeah.
So he's using a Verminlord Deceiver and Thankwall, and Kairos. So Kairos knows the skitter leap spell, and what he can do is he can skitter leap himself. Then he can summon like a Glockkin, and he can summon his flamers, his drones. So and Thankor, when you skitter leap Thankor, his warp fire projectors are really strong, so he can go in and just try and alpha strike, and that basically means get the damage in on a model before your opponent can react to kill that key piece by teleporting his army using his magic phase. And using summoning to really pressure people with the plague drones is almost like a wall around his casters, so he can redeploy his army in a key position to magic and shoot, and then the drones are there and he's got the pressure on. And then in a lot of the scenarios, if you're fighting on your opponent's objectives, you're in a strong position. So that's kind of the ethos behind his list. He's doing quite well with it, and he's been using a similar list for a couple of events, and he played New Dawn with his list with a few changes.
Which was another local event.
Which was another event using this pack, basically. Darren has been pretty solid during Age of Sigmar, and he's running a Chaos Army that's based around the Warpfire Coven from the Grand Lights Chaos
Which
book.
you love, Wayne, don't you? Bit of that.
I think most people are going to start hating it soon.
Yeah, they probably will. Yeah.
So,
as much as people don't like the teleporting Stormcast, they don't like the teleporting Skaven.
So, ironically, actually, this list struggles with Stormcast players because the Gryph-hound's a great piece to allow you to counter it, because when the Warp Grinder comes up, if that dies before the models pop up, they don't come up. And the Gryph-hound immediately interrupts that and allows you to shoot at it with a unit, But if you don't have the Gryph-hound in the right position, you can't do that. And I think a lot of people haven't seen this formation. So it's just got that shock factor where he's played a Stormcast player, he's caught them out, much like what Stormcast players are doing to other people with their teleport. And they're going, oh, if I knew that, I would have played that differently. It's too late now.
Yeah.
And then he's played another Stormcast player, same effect. And then another Stormcast player, same effect. And to be fair, the people he's played aren't that experienced with Stormcast. They've only just picked him up. I mean, Ricky, who was on table 1 in the last round, he's borrowing it for this event. So, that's a struggle.
To give you an example, I suppose, then, of those two lists in action, taking the versus the Stormcast with the Skaven, is a strong Stormcast piece, probably the strongest, is the Velexor Banner Bearer. And in both those games, he popped up with his guys and took that guy out before the Banner guy had a chance to teleport.
And a lot of people, where they put their Retributor unit, is they want it miles away, because they think, I can teleport, it doesn't matter. But then if you lose the Banner, they're movement 4.
Running across the board.
And then you're running into a gun line of Storm Fiends with Warpfire projectors. It's not going to go well.
No. And using the Slan example, just quickly, where Russ was talking about the alpha striking. So he did it earlier where he killed a Slan. So he teleported the Thankor 2d6 roll for the mortal wounds of his Warpfire projector, changed one of the dice rolls with Kairos because of combo, and boom, one shot, dead.
You basically need to roll a 2 on one of the 7 wounds or something.
Basically, it's dead. Dead.
There is
double
you
one,
can't fail.
change one of the dice to a 6.
6 is killing. So you can't fail.
So there you go. There's the combos in action, as it were.
I think the biggest difference between the Scryer battalion is the fact that when you use a warp grinder normally, you have to be 9 inches away, don't you? Yeah. Obviously, with this battalion, you can just pop up within that, which is why you
come up in combat.
Yeah, in combat.
Take damage.
But obviously, that's why the fire throwers work, isn't it? Because then you've got each one has got 2d3 mortal wounds, and they're close. So normally you wouldn't get people taking the warp flamethrowers because they can't get close enough to start with, or they can't pop up close enough. But with that formation,
but it's really all about the Storm Fiends. The Warpfire projectors. 6 of those bad boys popping up. It's what 2d3 each. So,
but that's what I'm saying. Normally you because they've only got an 8-inch range, haven't they? Normally you'd be an inch away, so you've got that turn where you're on the charge. But obviously that solves all the problems.
And that's the same with Thankor. It's using the teleport with the skitter. You can get close enough to use the projectors. So.
And you see those two key features there in both those lists. Is this ability to put the damage where you need it and have a burst that can deal with other people's combos is obviously turning out to be quite strong here, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you identify the piece in your opponent's army that they're relying on to be for their combo, if they're using a tricked out list, then and you neutralise that, you're up. And I think maybe it's going to see a move towards a more balanced approach where they're not reliant on the Knight Vexillus, so actually you can go in and kill it. I'm not really that fussed. So, and I think you're going to see a few more armies trying to spread their effectiveness across the whole army, allowing you to say, well, you can kill that key piece, fine. Or even people maybe running multiples of that key piece. I'm not going to have one, I'm going to take 3. you're not going to kill all 3 if I put 3 in 3 different positions on the board. You're just not going to do it, and that allows you to use your combo.
Yeah.
So if you're that reliant on it, taking a bit of redundancy, which is having a backup basically, is a great thing to do. So, but those lists have been doing well, and obviously. Table 2, who's on table 2?
So I think there's a death list on there. I can't remember if it's got Nagash in it. I have a feeling it might.
There are a couple of Nagashes around the top, aren't there?
We've got a Stormcast list that, funny enough, one of the more experienced players, Brian Carmichael, was on the videos earlier, is playing, and he's up there on max wins with 2 missions. So.
And he's using the Dracoffs, so he's using Concussors and Desolators, and also the Star Drake. And he's been trying the formation. Which I'll probably get the wrong name. It's either the Lightning Echelon or the other one, I can't remember. But basically, he's running that formation in some of the games with the Star Drake. And it's a really strong army because those Dracos hit really hard. And again, it's the same with a lot of tournament games. People haven't seen it, they haven't played against it, they don't know how to deal with it.
Throwing the teleport banner, which he's using in there as well.
Throwing the teleport banner if you're not running the formation or you've got a slightly different variant. And he's also got 20 Judicators, which you're able to affect your opponent 24 inches away. They're solid, freeze and freeze with Rend, with a D6 shot back bow. When you've got scenarios where the objectives are actually 24 inches away, you can claim yours and shoot the unit claiming theirs, which allows you to chip a blade. It forces them to have to come at you, but then you've got this wall of really good combat troops that are hard to get through. So it's solid, and he's doing really well with it.
So talking to the top 2 sort of tables, then you've got Chaos, and then you've got Death in there. You're playing, I think, another Chaos player, but then you've got Stormcast versus Destruction. So don't, if you're a Destruction guy, don't be put off. Have you seen the list that's been running on?
I have. He's saying they're fluffy because they've all got fur, but I don't believe it.
No.
So he's running basically all the big guys from the Ogre book. So he's got 3 Stonehorns and 3 Thunder Tusks, and he's got some Gorges and some other bits around it. But basically, you've got 3 really solid combat monsters, which are hard to deal with because they've got the half wound mechanic, so you half your wounds. But you've got the 3 Thunder Tusks, which are just basically going on a 2+, you take 6 mortal wounds. I've got it 3 times, 18 mortal wounds potential. But he's also got Blood Vultures on them, which do more mortal wounds. So it's just lots of mortal wounds and survivable models that in a lot of the scenarios can score because they're monsters, not characters. So I think he's deploying like 1 Butcher or Scrag sort of something.
Is this Paul Whitehead's army?
Yes, Paul Whitehead. So he's doing really well, to be fair. I think it maybe can create a bit of a one-sided game because it's one of those lists that's got it's so skewed to one thing that he'll probably play someone and they will have the perfect counter, and he hasn't got the flexibility to deal with it. But a lot of people he's playing can't deal with it.
No,
so it's almost like it's a bit rock paper scissors, in my opinion. But we'll see how he gets on. And he's doing well, and he's played a lot of events. I mean, I think he's probably done about 5 events. You know, so since I don't know, October last year. So that's quite a lot of tournaments. So he's doing well, and it's good to see a mix of the armies up there, and we with the ratio of armies as well, we've got a lot more Chaos and Order, probably double the amount of Destruction and Death. And Death is really good to see Death up there, and I think most of the Death lists are in the Nagash, Neferata combo.
The big guys,
So basically, that list works around, you've got Nagash, and Neferata's spell is immune to Rend, and Nagash takes that spell, can Mystic Shield himself, rerolls once. He's got 2 rerolling ones, ignores Rend, and he's got the Mortal Wound save, and he's an absolute monster. And then you summon cheap units for scoring, like Spirit Hosts, Direwolves, Zombies. And basically it's all about those 2 characters. They've got to do a lot of work to pull the missions back. Some of the missions, I've chatted to Steve and Tony, who are both doing well at the top tables with that, and they told me that there are certain scenarios that are their bogey scenarios that they need a good draw in those. Steve's weathered a couple of those already, so he's in a good position. I think Tony's got one coming up, which he's not confident. That's the game 4 tomorrow, which is a table quarter mission. His list isn't designed the same as Steve's around those characters, so for him that's his hardest mission. He struggles with that one the most, so it'd be interesting to see if he can be victorious in that round. So I'll be watching that game quite closely tomorrow. So
who will be victorious? That is the question.
Probably only the faithful.
Yeah, that's right.
We'll just wear that out.
So we should say, obviously, we're standing here. We're not as pristine condition as usual because it's Saturday night. We're cash, aren't we? And
Yeah, a bit
been
cash,
given a
yeah.
shirt. It's all good. So so it's going to be an interesting day too. Actually, day one has been the sort of people we thought might kick up at the top, arrive at the top for day two. So
I think it takes a bit of time. Obviously, with win-loss draw mechanic, it takes a while for the field to really filter down to the top tables. But there's been some really good games, really close games. I mean, Kieran with his destruction was playing Orcs on Mark Wildman's Moon Clan, and that was really interesting because it really come down to the last roll to convert the terrain. The difference between Kieran winning or drawing, and Mark won the roll, so it was a draw. But that was really good. And Kieran's been playing really well recently, and he's been up there. He podiumed at the New Dawn event, which I mentioned earlier, and he's using Orcs to great effect. So it's great to see that every army has got options to be competitive
and being represented up there.
And you know, I think that's another strength of AOS is that almost every unit is viable, and you know, who would have thought you'd see a Night Goblin army around the top tables?
There's a couple of them.
There's a couple of them doing well.
And the other thing as well, which is pleasing from a tournament organiser's perspective, is when we released the pack originally, there's a couple of really people that were kind of loud on the internet saying how much Order would dominate, it would be auto win, you'd automatically see all this, and it just is not nowhere near the truth.
No.
Well, I find it quite funny because I was managing the emails coming in from people for feedback, and I had some people email and go, "Chaos is too good." They're just gonna walk away with it, and then other people going, Chaos, they can't compete. Order are too good, and they're just like, everyone's got an opinion, and that's great. You know, everyone's got their own experience. They maybe in their gaming group, one guy's dominating with a certain list, and everyone's got their own opinion, which is great. And I think that's the great thing about a tournament is everyone's got a common interest. Everyone's playing Age of Sigmar. Everyone's into it. And no matter who it is, you don't know these people, and you can have a conversation with anyone because you've got a common interest. And I think that's the social side for me is what keeps me coming back to tournaments. And I think that's the best thing about it, to be honest.
And I think you can see behind us all these guys having a great time. And I think that hopefully you can hear us. That's why I've got mics Something exciting's happening over there. Having a great time, and I think that's the key, and that's one of the main takeaways for a lot of people. So I think what we'll do is I just briefly want to touch on before we call this one a day. What are you looking forward to on the best armies tomorrow, then, Wayne? So that's a big, exciting one for the viewers, I'm sure.
Yeah, there's actually, I wasn't sure how the paint would be actually this year because obviously everyone rebasing their armies or painting new armies and work in progress, all that kind of thing. But actually the standard's been higher than I thought it would be.
I think so. Very few people didn't get max points for painting as well.
Yeah, there's probably 10 at the most when they dropped points, out of 140. So, really pleased with that. There's probably 3 or 4 that I'm kind of, not sure about, which I like the most. Obviously, we won't reveal anything too soon.
No, I mean, it'd be good to see them set up tomorrow. We can take the time to really look at them and really go through each one. And
there's a couple of surprising ones, actually. There was one that was, when we were doing the scoring for the armies, I scored it, and I was thinking, that's consistent. And then and I don't know, there was something about the army that didn't sort of like stand out. And then one little model just caught my eye, and then I took a much closer look at the rest of the army.
Yeah.
And it was really good. But it kind of didn't sell itself from 3 foot.
No.
You have to kind of get in and amongst it and look at it properly. So I'm going to go back tomorrow and have another look at that army.
I'm interested to see that one because I haven't seen that one yet.
Yeah.
So it'd be good to see that in detail. But I think that's the thing about when you've got to check 140 armies. It's easy to miss something, So
definitely.
We need to probably another look round during round 1 and make sure we have.
Make sure we don't. So hopefully just after lunch in UK time tomorrow, you'll have a video that's looking at all these beautiful armies because there's some great stuff out there, and hopefully give you some inspiration. So I think that's about it. So that's the roundup of round 3. Hopefully you've enjoyed this, and we'll see you tomorrow. Just remember, of course, if you like this video, like, share and subscribe. Check out Facehammer and Heelan Hammer. All the links are below. And we'll see you on the next one. See you later.
Bye-bye.